Blades of Steel first smashed its way into arcades in 1987, with that sleek, fast-paced NES version following hot on its heels in 1988. But for us Commodore 64 diehards, we had to wait until 1990 to lace up those virtual skates.
Blades of Steel.
Nova Trade ported it over, but it was probably just a tiny bit late to the party, as many of us had buggered off to the Amiga by this stage. However, the C64 version slid onto the ice. I suppose it was better late than never. So let's fire it up and see how this classic stacked up on our trusty Commodore 64. It's got grit, it's got charm, and it'll probably make you want to punch someone. In the game, of course. Now, I know what you're thinking. The NES version might have had all the slick polish of a AAA 80s console release back then, but the C64 version, well, it's got personality. It aims to stick close to its arcade roots, delivering that same fast and furious hockey action, complete with the brawls that make you want to dive headfirst into a pylon after some contentious two-player sports games. Admit it, you did it too.
1, 2, ah!
The objective of these types of games is obviously to score more goals than the other team, but with Blades of Steel, you have 3 intense periods of play to do it in. You need to manoeuvre your players with precision, pass the puck at the right moment, and nail that sweet slap shot to get it past the goalie, or goaltender, or whatever they call that poor fella getting pelted with pucks. I don't know, we were never big on the actual sport of hockey here in the UK, just the games. Now, because we could only use one-button inputs on our Commodore 64 joysticks, things were a bit simplified compared to the NES version, which had A to pass, B to shoot, and all those fancy extras. But honestly, as Commodore 64 owners, we were already used to working with what we had, and loving it. That single-button setup was all part of the magic. Every satisfying click of the joystick microswitch felt like you were physically connected to the games you were playing. I remember my mum bought me this for Christmas too, on one of those Konami LCD handhelds. I'd love to start collecting those again. Classics. What really sets Blades of Steel apart from regular sports games was the fighting. Hockey might be about goals, sure, but anyone who's played knows that things can get a little tense on the ice. Here, it's no different. You can throw down with opposing players, triggering one-on-one brawls when things get heated. I also covered another game called Face Off, which you can find on the channel. It quickly becomes clear that ice hockey and throwing punches go hand in hand when it comes to these games. I'd actually really like to go see an ice hockey game in one of the stadiums over in the US or Canada, someday. When a fight breaks out, the game zooms in for a close-up as the punches start flying, and you'll trade blows until one player gets decked. Win the fight and you've earned bragging rights and a power play advantage. Lose and you're off to the penalty box to cool down, while your team plays on without you. It's fast-paced, unpredictable, and a huge part of what made hockey games fun. Visually, it pains me to admit that the Commodore 64 version doesn't have the glossy sheen of the NES or arcade versions, but it's got a certain rough around the edges charm. Your player sprites might be blockier, but they're easy to follow, and the limited colour palette somehow makes the whole thing feel even more like a gritty, old-school hockey showdown. Now, as for the audio, the Commodore 64's SID chip did its best, as it always did. And while it doesn't quite capture the crisp sound samples of the arcade or NES versions, it certainly holds its own. While the NES version had digitised phrases like Blades of Steel and With the Pass, the Commodore version lacks these speech samples entirely. Instead, it focuses on delivering its own chunky, SID-driven atmosphere, with the familiar crackles and beeps we know and love. Remember the NES commentator saying "with the pass" over and over? Yeah, we all misheard that as kids. Up the ass, it's the feds, or kiss my ass, whatever your ears picked up. It added to the hilarity. So I suppose the bottom line and big question was, did Blades of Steel on the Commodore 64 outshine its NES counterpart? Not quite, but that's not the point. What it does deliver is an authentic slice of 8-bit hockey mayhem, complete with all the grit and scrappy charm that made Commodore 64 games so memorable. It's a game that doesn't apologise for being a little rough around the edges, because that's exactly how we liked it. If you're ready to relive the glory days of one-button joysticks, scrappy soundtracks and close-up brawls, grab your C64, fire up Blades of Steel and give it a whirl. It may not be perfect, but it's perfectly Commodore. Thanks for watching guys, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and please be sure to stick your memories of this game in the comments section. I don't mind if it's memories of the arcade. In fact, let's play the arcade version now. The NES version, or whatever version you had, it's always going to be a classic hockey game, but was it your favourite? I'd be interested to know. Also, be sure to check out all the other games on the channel playlist, including a heap of sports games already up there too, but we're still scratching the surface, and there's a long way to go. Hopefully, you'll join me and continue on this epic adventure down memory lane. And with that, I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, bye for now.